Welcome to the Addison Bowen podcast, where we talk about what it actually takes to hit your first six or multi-six figures in business. I'm Addison, certified clinical hypnotherapist and online business coach for entrepreneurs. And 3 years ago, I decided that nursing wasn't for me, dropped out of nursing school, and dove into the online space. From free hypnosis audios to unfiltered conversations and business advice, this is the space for you to take radical responsibility towards creating your dream business. Let's dive in. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited for today's conversation because I brought in a client who is also a transformational coach and spiritual mentor. So this is kind of twofold. We're going to talk both about all of the amazing shifts that she's seen from hypnosis and also all of her offerings and manifestation. So welcome, Bridget. Bridget's a transformational coach and spiritual mentor with nearly 20 years of corporate leadership experience and over 25 years in energy work. So you're just a wealth of knowledge. And you are a Reiki master, EFT practitioner, master manifester. And I know that you also blend the strategy and the energy intuition work as well too. And you help high achieving professionals break free from perfectionism, overgiving, help them reclaim their boundaries, create aligned success, obviously manifest amazing things. So welcome. I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited too.
So first of all, as we're diving in, I would love for you to just briefly tell us a little bit about your 25 years in energy work. Like what got you started in energy work 25 years ago?
Yeah, so it's what first brought me into it because when I was younger, I manifested things as a child and it actually got me in trouble. I'd manifest things and my parents would be like, "Where did you get that?" And I'd be like, and so that whole ability and a lot of my intuition was kind of shut down for like the first 2 decades of my life. But then as I started to kind of reclaim my independence, it found its way back to me. I found my way back to it. And so I first did my Reiki 1 level attunement when I was 19. And from there, it just kind of took off. It really, the first 10 years of it, I was more casual about all of it. I wasn't really relying on my intuition consciously. I definitely had strong intuition and I was making moves based on that. And I still had a relationship with guides and things, but it wasn't as intentional as it is now. And so as I headed into my late 20s and early 30s, that's when I found my Reiki instructor that I did my apprenticeship and my mastery level with. And that was really when my intuition started to become a muscle that I was flexing and developing and everything. And from there, I kind of did sort of a dual path from, business and everything. And my, side hustle was all of the energy work and development work on that side of things. So I actually did launch a business in my early 30s with Reiki and energy work. And it started to take off and it freaked me out. I think I had witch wound stuff come up and I was just like, I'm not ready for this. And so I dove back into corporate. And then 15 years later, I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm ready for, the real deal. And so here we are.
That is so interesting. I don't think I knew that about you. So it freaked you out and you're like, I'm just not ready for this.
Yeah. I needed, I think, more time for sure to develop my skills. I had a whole nother round of teachings with other energy practitioners that helped me to really strengthen my own boundaries and, just maturity and, So by the time I got to, a year or two ago and I was like, okay, I'm ready to kind of step off into this and make it my full-time work. I was much more grounded and prepared to handle it for myself. I think people are waking up a lot faster now. So, I wouldn't, expect everybody to have the same length of journey as I have had. I have clients that have things coming online, in a matter of weeks where it would have probably taken me a couple of years back in the day. Things are definitely speeding up, but yeah, that's been my experience.
So I'm just curious, what things did you manifest as a kid that got you in trouble? I just want to know.
Oh, little fun stuff, but toys, candy bars, stuff like that. As I was in my 20s and I was kind of, reclaiming my abilities a little bit, that was when I manifested my husband, by name. So you might hear out online people talking about a specific person. That happened for me. I didn't know what that was at the time, but I had listened to a multitude of nudges and instincts and found myself back in the Twin Cities, which is where I was originally from after spending time out in New York. And I was hanging out with some friends and I was like, I think I'm ready to start dating. I just want a really nice guy that's funny. And then I said my husband's name out loud, and someone like in the circle was like, did they go to this college? And I was like, yes. And they're like, I have them on my phone. Like, do you want to talk to them? And like got him on the phone, and we had a date within like 10 minutes. We were planning our date. And by our third date, we were like, yeah, we're getting married. So, I mean, it was just like, it was something.
That is awesome. I didn't know
Mhm.
that either. That's incredible. So you actually said his name out loud.
Mhm.
That is so cool.
And like
I
his full name. And it was just like, boop. And like, just a matter of minutes, we were reconnected. And then, that was it. 9 months later, we were engaged and we were married shortly after. So,
So his name just dropped in and that was that. That's incredible.
mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed. I actually had a very similar situation, but I knew of my husband beforehand. But I just gone through a breakup and my friends were like, you're probably ready to start dating. Are you going to do dating apps? Are you going to, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do dating apps. And one of them was like, well, is there anyone that just like you connect with that you feel like you could reach out to? And I was like, well, actually, yeah, there's this guy that, I talked to a couple years ago when I was not in a relationship, and I sent him a message, and then same thing. It was like 3 months we were already talking about marriage. 6 months we were engaged.
Yeah,
11 months later we
you
were
did it
married.
too.
Yeah, I did
You
it
literally
too.
did it. Yeah, and let me just
The
like,
only
okay.
difference is that I knew of him, but you
Hmm.
just had that name drop in, which is incredible. I'm not discounting my manifestation, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew of him too. I mean, we had been connected earlier on, only as friends ever. But I mean, like, I knew of him. I knew the type of person he was, which is why, I was attracted to him. But like, what I want to point out, what you just said, and that it is definitely connected to manifestation, is because you were discerning in that moment. You're like, I don't want to do apps. I want to be about it in this way. That's you and your integrity. And it flowed very quickly and naturally for you. That's kind of part of, the magic of it all, is when you really know what's right for you, you send a clear signal out and what's right for you comes back.
yeah, I love that. Well, I
Hmm.
feel like we could do a whole episode just about like little things we've manifested, or I know you're a master manifester, so you have a list because you've told me, lots of different things in the past, but I think we should talk about that towards the end because I also want to hear like what you're currently manifesting. I think that would be really fun.
Hmm.
But let's start from the beginning and like set the scene. I would love to hear because you're in TVA currently. You've been in
Hmm.
there for almost 6 months and you re-signed. So we're gonna have a lot of time together after my maternity leave and stuff like that. And I would love to know like where you were before TVA, emotionally, financially, energetically, and really
Hmm.
like what drew you to saying yes to the space. Because I think we connected via TikTok, if I'm not mistaken. You watched a lot of my stories. You probably listened to my podcast, but like what drew you to the space and where were you before?
Yeah. So when I made the decision to leave corporate and to not just go into another job and, really launch my own situation, um, one of the most important things for me and my family was financial stability. And so I had been promoted, to a level where I was making, quite a bit of money, and I was able to, save quite a bit of money as a result of that. And so setting myself up financially was part of my strategy for leaving. I hear a lot online right now, people saying, I just quit my corporate job. I don't have a plan, da, da, da. That would not have worked for my nervous system.
Me either.
And having a solid nervous system is also really important to manifestation work, because you can't fool yourself, and if your body is in fight or flight, you're not going to be able to bring in millions of dollars. Like, that just doesn't compute. And so it was really important to me to build a really strong foundation and framework for my business and financial stability. So by the time I left my job, it was a little less than a year ago now, um, I had enough money in savings where I didn't have to bring in a dime for 2 years. Like, I was going to be okay. And I knew it wouldn't take that long, but that was what in my mind felt safe enough to make the venture. um, And so I started, my work, and things were going okay. I mean, I had a lot of really great clients that I had gained through my network, but I definitely was in a position of wanting more activity. And what I loved about your TikToks was how you made hypnotherapy so accessible and like so quick. And I also loved that you backed up your work with science. So like when you would talk about 95% of your behavior is based on your subconscious, I was just like, oh my God. Like
Like it
because
connected it for you.
yeah, because
Yeah.
so I mean that makes sense. And I think the reason why I had so much success with manifestation prior to working with you is because I had this inner knowing that was so grounded and centered, and I'd had so much like happen multiple times. I had my own inner compass and proof. I knew it worked. But in this new space, as an entrepreneur, it brought in a whole new set of limiting beliefs that I didn't expect, having come into corporate. So like when I was in corporate, my belief pattern was I can manifest financial abundance because I'm constantly from a place of grinding and overgiving. I've earned it. I deserve it. And so it would find its way to me, right? That was sort of like the way in. Well, when I was an entrepreneur and I purposely left my job, my corporate experience, because I didn't want to grind anymore, I wanted to find a new way. I had to completely retrain my subconscious and like my limiting beliefs around how money can find me and how I can, receive from ease. And that, all of the things that we've talked about, in our group sessions and things, I had to completely retrain my program. But what appealed to me in your TikToks and what brought me in and what made the final decision is my former methods weren't working as well because I had these limiting beliefs. And I mean, and it wasn't just me, it was like growing up in capitalism and patriarchy and like all of those systems. Like, this is what success looks like. I had walked away from that. Now what does it look like? How do I make this work outside of all of those frameworks that so many people agree this is how it works and goes, to something totally new and independent? And so I just viewed investing in the hypnotherapy piece as, a fast track to retraining everything. And then the business strategy that you also provide has been outstanding. It's so good. So yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to resign, sign and resign.
I love just everything that you mentioned there because I think dream client, obviously, because you're aware, I like being a manifestation mentor and stuff like that. You have this level of awareness that a lot of my clients have. Like, I'm super self-aware as well too, but there comes a point where you recognize, okay, this isn't like the strategy necessarily anymore because I'm already showing up. This isn't, this anymore. It's and my methods aren't working anymore. It's like there's another layer to unveil that someone can help you unveil, and that's in like a lot of different industries as well too, your industry as well. And also I think just highlighting, like, a lot of my clients are coming from corporate at some point too, and I did the same thing. These are all beliefs that I've also had to rewrite because I was in working 12-hour shifts in a nursing field. So it was like my body immediately and my mind were like, oh, okay, so we work 12 hours and that's how we're successful and that's how we make, like, at the most like 35,000 a year or 40 or
Yeah.
50, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's like these baselines that we create for ourselves. So I love how you highlighted all of that. And I just want to say as well too, for anyone that's listening to this, I love that you highlighted the safety and income and finances, because that's something that I tell people all the time. Like, I've told people not to invest in TVA because they were not safe financially, and I didn't want them to put that added pressure on themselves. And I think it's so important. I know it was for me as well too. I didn't just automatically quit my job because I was making a little bit of money in my business. There was savings, there was things that I put in place, even speaking to like an accountant and making sure that I felt safe making that decision, because business is really hard when you're like, I gotta make this money, I gotta make this money. And you would probably know from a frequency and like desperation standpoint why. So we could talk about that later. But I just love all of this. So I am curious, was there a moment with hypnotherapy? Obviously, this is continual work. I still do this work. I work with a hypnotherapist. I talk about that on my podcast. So this isn't like a one and done subconscious thing, but I'm curious if there was a moment for you in doing daily hypnosis, or even doing like getting personalized recording for me or anything where you realize like this is what's actually moving me forward, or this is really what's like unlocking this next level for me?
Yeah. So, one of the things that became clear to me, and before we started working together, so earlier on this year in 25, was the way that I was kind of putting in energy and where I was putting my energy, my focus, on building my business, um, getting kind of stability there was really important to me. And so in listening to the sessions around, receiving stability, normalizing $5,000 months, $10,000 months. I mean, when I was in corporate, I was making more than $10,000 a month. And so I knew what that felt like, but I didn't know what that felt like as an entrepreneur. And so that gap compared to the clients that I did have and my lower prices that I had before you and I started working together, that didn't math, and it wasn't going to math. And so coming to terms with that through hypnotherapy, really helped me to break down all of those limiting beliefs and programs. And I had already kind of decided, like through manifestation, financial abundance, we'll get into this probably later too, larger amounts would need to come in through different avenues than just my business. And so, but even that, like thinking my business isn't going to actually really be able to provide me with the life that I want. Like these are stories I started to tell myself, or, and it's so insidious when you are in business by yourself, because you're in your head all day and you're trying to make sense and make decisions and stuff all day, and you start to tell yourself these things. And so it really helped me to get clear on uh, those vulnerabilities. And so then one of the things that I love that we do is, every month we come together as a group, and what's most pressing, what's on your mind for a fresh, hypnotherapy that you custom design for us. And, it was in some of those that really helped me to start to dial in on those specifics. And it was interesting too, because, and I'm sure you would agree with this, in those sessions, as we would start to articulate our needs, we'd find as a group that we all were kind of struggling with similar things at the same time, which I loved, because it was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something bigger going on. But nonetheless, we're all here kind of unified behind these topics, and we can get support from you on it.
And you're not alone, because business
Mm-hmm.
can be challenging in that sense. Like you said, you're in your head all day. There's so much noise in the online space. So when you're around other people that are creating what you're creating, it normalizes it, but then it also helps you be like, okay, so the fact that my head's going there today is like, that's normal, but I also have these tools to like to
Mm-hmm.
shift that and move out of it. So I love that.
Yeah, well, and you have so many options. I mean, all I have to do is search a, key term on what I'm struggling with on a given day. And there's like an option for me to go and listen to address it. It's awesome for, for my type of personality. That's like, I recognize it and I want to deal with it and, move through it. I don't want to bypass, but I want to, deal with it and move on. Yeah, so helpful.
Yeah, I love that. Well, are there any like results or shifts or personal breakthroughs or belief shifts or anything that you want to share with us that you're most proud of since joining, big and small? So I would just love to hear, like, when I say that, what are you most proud of? So I would love to hear like your big and small shifts that you'd love to share.
Yeah, I would say let's start with small and work our way up. So, some of the smaller shifts that I've realized, my nervous system is so much healthier. When I think about where I was, towards the end of my corporate experience, I mean, I had to take leave because I was so burned out, and my body physically couldn't relax. I couldn't do it anymore. No matter, unless I would like have a glass of wine, or something like that, like in and of myself, my body did not feel safe to relax anymore. And I so many of my clients experience that, and I get comments in my DMs and stuff, people that are dealing with that. So I know this is a common thing. And so it was really important to me to reclaim that relationship with myself. As I walked away from corporate, I was like, I'm done abusing myself, abandoning myself, for money. Like,
Yeah.
we're not doing that anymore. And so doing the hypnosis was just this really amazing, gentle way. Every single one, the foundation is relaxing. Like that's how you get there, is through relaxation. And so helping to retrain my nervous system to feel safe, to relax was like a game changer. Um, Essential. Like anybody that's thinking about going into business should partner with a hypnotherapist, because I
I
don't know how
agree.
else you get there. I really don't. I mean, I have a therapist, so it's not just therapy, you know. I mean, it's so much more than that. So that, while it might seem small, was actually massive. Like now I have a regulated nervous system. Now this morning I had, something come through that in my past would have right now Mercury's in retrograde, but it would have really thrown me. And it didn't at all. Like, in fact, I kind of felt relaxed about the situation. Like, I'm not taking responsibility for this. This is how I interpreted the situation. I trust my intuition. So I appreciate, maybe I, connected with a person and I might have touched on something that they weren't prepared to or ready to, connect with, and that upset them or whatever. But that's okay. Like, I don't have to take responsibility for this. They asked, and so very different than how I would have reacted even 6 months ago. And not because I didn't want to feel and be that way. My nervous system just didn't even know how to react in a way like that. So I couldn't even put a price on that. Like my nervous
Yeah.
system, like,
It makes me so happy.
yeah, yeah. So I guess one of the smaller things, just because it happened in a small and gentle way over the last couple of months as I've been doing regular hypnosis. So, but then as we start to move up into bigger things, the work that we've done where you've been able to help me to build my funnel. I didn't really have a structure in terms of like free offer, low ticket offer, higher ticket offers, da da da. I didn't really have that structure because everything was kind of low. And so the strategy that you provided in helping me to do that in the lane of my work and what I bring to my clients and in a way that's authentic to what I offer was amazing. And as a result, it gives my business breathing room. So like, depending on who I'm talking to, I can connect. And you use the word portals. How am I creating portals for people to be able to connect with me if they're ready? And so I love that, because it takes the work from, here's my hourly rate, to here are different containers that you can connect with. And if you want to be self-guided, here's an option for you. If you want to just have a little quick session just to get a feeling of what it's like to work together, here's an option for that. And if you're ready to really take your life to a new level, these are those options. So how we've structured the funnel together and through business strategy has been amazing. And then the biggest shifts, I would say, is last week I brought in my first wave of financial abundance. Landed. I started working on this round of manifestation back in March, April, May. Those 3 months I did very diligent, focused work on manifestation, the most that I've ever done in terms of like consciously and also subconsciously with the hypnotherapy. And like I said, I know the reason why it took as long as it did was because I was reprogramming these beliefs that, have been ingrained in me, multi-generational. If you believe in past lives, I mean, it's like multi-generational. And I had to redo that. And I was able to redo that in like 4 months, which is wild. That it didn't seem like fast from my perspective at the time. I was like begging, I can't manifest anything. Total doubts. But the first wave landed last week. It was more than enough to cover my living expenses for over a year. And since that time, I've had financial increases in my investments, like over $7,000 in 5 days. I've had, one of my most successful months ever in my business to date. Like, it's just flooding in. Plus, like, opportunities for partnerships and connections with new clients. Every day stuff is flowing in now. And so it's just like, and will it always be that way? I mean, hopefully. But the fact is, my nervous system is prepared to hold that now. I'm not buckling. I'm not like backpedaling and being like, oh, this is temporary. And it feels really solid because I prepared for it over the course of that time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think just as you're talking, I was thinking about a TikTok that you sent me a while ago about mentorship that I think can apply to anyone. But basically, the gal in it, which I should share it on my stories or something later if I can go back and find it. But she was talking about how she doesn't invest necessarily to just see these crazy wins. It's to have someone hold the vision for you and hold that
Mhm.
grounded, like neutral
Mhm.
space. You know what TikTok I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
And as you were
Mhm.
talking, I was just thinking like, when I share client wins or when we have these conversations, I think the coolest thing about it is that, I gave you some strategy and we worked through things and we audited your copy. But to me, like the biggest shifts are the belief shifts and how you feel in your body and how you feel in your mind and how you feel in your business. Like those are the biggest shifts. And I didn't necessarily create that for you. I said, here's a container through which you can create this yourself if you apply these audios, and if you fill out this form and we create a custom audio for you, and if you show up every single day and you allow yourself to be seen. So I know for you, there's been moments like, where you shared a TikTok video and you're like, whoa, that was kind of hard. Like that was a lot. I'm, sensing myself being seen in a different way. And my favorite thing about mentorship is like holding you through those moments and like staying grounded in the safety behind allowing yourself to be seen and signing higher ticket clients and raising your rates and knowing that it's, worth it and you're worth it, and that worth is inherent. It's not, based on an hourly rate. So I just love everything that you just said. And I'm really glad that you've been in this space and I've been able to like hold that vision for you, because people have to hold it for me is all I will say, because it's not, we're doing something in business that most people are not used to doing. We're not
Mhm.
are not used to showing up on social media and letting themselves be seen by millions and creating money in a different container than a corporate job. And so
Mhm.
it does take spaces like this sometimes that, and, time even to shift those beliefs to feel safe holding something. And so I'm really proud of you and I'm excited for you too. And like you
Oh,
said, you can, whether it's always this way or not, you also now have the tools to hold yourself through those ups and downs, because it's very normal to have ups and downs in business. We don't want to expect them, but if you do, like this is how I turn it around, or this is what, this is another integration level for me or whatever. So
mhm.
I love all of that.
Yeah, and I expect it. I expect it because I expect to continue to grow and
Yeah,
expand. And that
that's true.
there's always, you're always hitting, the next level and the next level, and you stretch, you grow, your body freaks out, you contract a little bit, and then you stretch and grow, and so on. That's just part of being a human. It's awesome.
100%. It is awesome. Well, I have loved all of this and I love everything that you've shared. And I think you've highlighted some really awesome things about TVA. I'm excited to have you now even longer in the space because of my maternity leave. But I also want to talk about manifestation and give the listeners some like very tangible things to move forward with when it comes to manifestation, because everything that you just shared, between like manifesting your husband to even as a child, like toys and candy and stuff like that. And I know you have so many more really awesome manifestation mentors. So let's talk a little bit about how manifestation plays a role in your work with your clients, because I know you work with high level professionals, whether they're in business or not, people that want to become master manifestors. You work with people who are transitioning in careers, so there's a lot of nuance to your work. So I'd just love to hear, yeah, how manifestation plays a role in that, because I think for a lot of people, when you think like boundaries and career change and transition in life, you don't necessarily think manifestation. And I think that's really awesome that you blend all of that together.
Yeah, well, it all comes back to alignment and getting yourself aligned with what you want to bring in for yourself. So a lot of my clients will come to me and they will be in the, brinks of burnout or in full burnout mode, or, they don't really know how to navigate. They're about to go from one job to a new job, but they don't want to bring all of the luggage and garbage and everything from their past job into the new one. And so getting into alignment with what you really want. I just posted a TikTok the other day about reframing because I was working with somebody during my energy audit and clarity session. They're looking for their new job, and in the conversation, they're like, "I'm spinning my wheels. I've had lots of interviews. I haven't made traction." And so I, asked them to kind of talk about, well, tell me the baseline of where you're at right now. And it was all like, I don't want a boss like this. I don't want a culture like this. I want to avoid, this again. And so we reframed it to be like, okay, let's get in alignment with what you actually want. Because if you're spewing out to the universe what you don't want, it's confusing to the universe, because it's kind of like, you're talking about that thing, I'm going to give you that thing, versus if you get into alignment with what you actually want, you're using language and you're putting out a frequency of what you actually want, and then it comes to you. And so in this example, what she really wanted was a manager that was secure. And if she came to that manager with good ideas, the manager would bring her into rooms to share her ideas to help the company grow and succeed. She really wanted a team that respected her, and, an environment that, encouraged that sort of camaraderie, etc., and innovation and everything. So once she got clear on that, within a couple of days, she had recruiters reaching out to her on LinkedIn. And I just texted her this morning, and she's on her third round interview with a company, and she has loved talking with everybody in the group. And so good vibes to all. But I mean, it doesn't have to take a long time when you get into alignment with what you really want to bring in, and get clear on that. And so a lot of times when I'm working with my clients in terms of manifestation, boundaries, and balance, we get clear on what they actually want to bring in. And this is something that's kind of been coming in just as this morning, things I was messaging you on earlier today, that in addition to the business acumen and the manifestation, acumen that I bring to the conversation, similar to you in holding the space, when people work with me, they're in proximity to the possibility of the energy that I hold. And I'm intuitive. So when I'm working with them, I'm connected up to their higher self. So that's like the truest, purest form. And when their higher self is speaking to me like, you've got this and you're going to be just fine. And, that knowing directly drops into them and their body, and they know that's true. And it bypasses their ego. So it saves time. And it's just this amazing, magical experience when we're able to collaborate in that way. I have a client that I've been working with now for about a year and a half, and the stuff that they're manifesting, we'll get together for a call. And later that same day, they'll text me and be like, this and this and this have already come in. Like, it's amazing when people really get into the flow of it all. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. And I love what you just said about your intuition and connecting with their higher self. And it's just beautiful to see how you can connect that to professionals and transitions in life. I would also love to hear when it comes to manifesting in like a grounded, strategic way. Because to me, when I'm hearing you talk about it too, in these clarity sessions, and, it's simple. It's not, say an affirmation 17,000 times, and then then maybe your body will feel safe and you'll attract, it's like you had her shift this very small thing, which was, let's focus on what you want, let's get into alignment with what this position looks like, right? And that's simple. So I would love to hear more about just like what you wish more people understood when it comes to manifestation, boundaries, balance, getting into alignment with what you want, and that grounded, strategic like piece that you bring to manifestation.
Yeah, I think what I typically will do when I start out with my clients is first we get clear on where their current baseline is, right? And so if there are areas that they want to focus on in terms of regaining balance and boundaries, we'll talk through that, because that is giving themselves power, right? They're advocating for themselves and their needs, and that starts to set the tone with like, okay, this work is about, I'm supporting them, but they're in charge of, the transformation. It just completely shifts your energetic like circuitry in terms of like, I'm not saving you, I'm not fixing you, like you're telling me, what you want to work on, which is really empowering. And then from there, what we'll start to do is I usually will bring in tools, so basic energetic tools for people to start to consciously manage their frequency. So a lot of times people are going through life and they're reacting to stuff happening to them. That doesn't have to be how you operate in life. You can start to manage your frequency and your energy through tools that I teach them, and they're really simple. I have all of them on TikTok, so if anyone wants to go out and see them, they're all there. It's a grounding cord, it's a well, it's a gold screen, it's a golden sun. Like, these are, foundations. But in those practices, by leveraging those tools, you start to get in touch with your own inner guidance system and your own energy, and your personal energetics. And so then you start to notice and feel the difference. Okay, am I in fight or flight, or am I grounded in my body right now? Am I present, or am I fretting about the future and past? And you start to build that confidence and knowing within yourself through those tools. Simultaneously, then we'll start to do aligned action and activities. So in the workshops that I offer, the group workshops, we go through, curriculum where we kind of build week to week on building on these tools and abilities. And it's amazing. People start to manifest things in for themselves within 2 weeks. Like, I have a client right now that has already, her nervous system is shifting. It's amazing because she's like really put the tools, like diligently practiced the tools. And so people are, committed to doing that and showing up for themselves and setting those, new patterns within their nervous system that they are advocating for themselves and showing up. It can come online really fast. It's happening a lot faster, like I said earlier, than it was when I was first, because, I think more people are waking up to this. I think more people are ready for this. And so for people that are interested in getting going on this, it wouldn't take as long as it might have had we, met 5 or 10 years ago. And so we have the tools, we have the methods that we work on, and then everything's customized to, people's unique needs. Sometimes I'll have sessions with clients where we're daydreaming, because daydreaming, for you had mentioned earlier, like when people are like really down in low frequency land and like life is terrible and I don't know how I'm ever going to get out of the situation. Daydreaming is a really easy way to start to get up into those higher frequencies. And some people think, oh, that's just a waste of time, it's not going to come true. No, you start to connect with the frequencies of possibility, and then you're working with a master manifester. I can hold the space and reflect back to you, yes, this is possible for you. You have someone in your corner to, just like what you do for us in terms of helping us to set our rates, because you're already in that expanded space and you know what's possible. So similarly to that, and then that gives them the confidence, and then they start to, experience the results, and it just compounds from there.
Yeah, I love
Mhm.
that. I would say I love how our work kind of parallels too, because what you just said around like frequency and energy work and the daydreaming. So I would call it visualization in subconscious work. And I would say the reason that that works and helps you manifest or create your reality is because your subconscious mind doesn't differentiate thoughts from reality. So
Mhm.
when you visualize it enough, but I would say the same thing to my clients as well too. Like, I had you guys create a little audio with
Mhm.
affirmations recently focused on the things that you want. And we have tons of visualizations in the portal as well too. And that's the exact reason, is because when you spend time sitting and thinking about what you want and you visualize it coming through to fruition, your body and mind start to normalize that. So
Mhm.
I love that. And it is a grounded way to approach manifestation, because I think when I scroll on TikTok, I have manifestation, all sorts of tools and tips and tricks on my For You page. And I see these, videos that are like, say this affirmation and become a millionaire. And I'm like, girl, that is not how it works. Like, it's really not
Well,
how it works.
yeah, I mean, I just literally talked about this too, like in a post that I did last week. For some people, that might be how it works, but I
That's true. Yeah.
guarantee, I guarantee they've done a lot of pre-work to get to that level where they can just like say it and it happens. It doesn't just, I don't want to program anybody or, build in limiting beliefs, but I will say, everybody has their own stuff. Everybody has their own programs. And so for some people, it might be really easy for them to reprogram their subconscious and they can get there really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the case for me as I headed in. Well, what's easy? 5 months of work. Does that seem easy? I mean, when I was in it, it didn't. It
But
seemed
in the
like
grand scheme of
forever.
things,
Yeah,
that's such a
yeah, yeah.
short time.
Yeah. So it's relative.
Yeah. No, you're so right. That one affirmation, if someone doesn't have resistance or programming, could be that thing for them. But it all just depends on your personal experience and stuff like that. So, but I love that grounded, like strategic, and personalized support that you bring to your clients, where it's like, let's meet you where you're at. And I'm also intuitive, so I can connect with your higher self and, see this vision for you to help you manifest it faster, and also more aligned, would you say, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you're saying that, what came through is I have another client that was apartment hunting, was super stressed about it, and did find an apartment, and it was $200 over their max level. And they were like, you know what, I'm just going to sign it because I know I'm going to be able to manifest in the financial abundance to support it. And it was like the higher self was like applauding, yes, this is
Yeah.
exactly right. Like you're already building the expansion for yourself with the expectation. And, that person, received levels in within days, to help support that frequency because that was the frequency they were aligning to.
Yeah, it's like a trust fall. Trust in yourself.
Totally.
Little circle. Well, this is awesome. So, let's hear a little bit about what you're currently manifesting. What are you calling in for yourself or your business? And maybe you could just also briefly tell us, like, going through your own manifestation framework, like, what are you doing actively to manifest these things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, if you talked to me last week, I'd be like financial abundance, and I still am, for sure. I'm building on the momentum there, right? So the first wave landed. I'm building on the momentum. But what's interesting is it landed, and then we talked about this. My nervous system freaked out. So this is that expansion and then retraction, right? So I received it, and then I was like, oh man. And so that's to be expected. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or whatever. But so navigating that. And I navigated it quickly, and now there's like echo waves coming in, right? Like quickly. I mean, it's less than a week, and I'm already receiving in, more. And so, and in multiple ways, which is also awesome. So financial abundance will continue to be a thing for me because I have goals. I really want to open up a retreat center, and so I want to, save and invest, and prepare for that. Additionally, I'm really connected to my community. There's a local entrepreneurial center that I'm really involved in, and I want to get to a place where I can donate, grant money to the organization for their the entrepreneurs that are relying on that organization to help build their businesses. So financial abundance is part of it, and that is flowing in, and it's really exciting to see how it is flowing in because you'll hear this, online that it comes in ways that you didn't expect. It comes in more than you would have expected, and it's fun to be at this stage. It's gratifying to finally be at this stage and kind of have the breather to be like, okay, so this is happening. And it's awesome. I'm trying to think other things that I'm looking to bring in. Were the retreat center, and as I'm starting to build my network and expand my client base, what that will look like in the coming months too, because so much of this first year has been stabilization, and so now what does growth really look like? I know one of the things that that drew me to wanting to work with you is having freedom, having a sense of flexibility in my life. What does that look like with the financial piece kind of taking care of, essentially? What else is part of the plan? And so for me, that's things like travel, expanding, being more present with my family, all of those pieces. So much of what I had envisioned when I decided I was going to do this and break away from corporate into entrepreneurship is already happening. It's already here. Like my lifestyle is already there. The hours are already there. Like yeah. So I mean, so much of it has already landed. So it's a good question. We should strategize. What's the next
That is so cool to hear, though. And I just want to highlight for anyone that's listening to this, to like take a second and maybe reflect, because I was talking to another client about this recently, but every single time like a manifestation or something comes through in your life, you automatically create that next goalpost where you're like, okay, now this, okay, now this. And we forget to take a second to reflect and be like, okay, but 2 years ago, if that person, that version of me could see where I'm at right now, they would be like blown away. And I think it's such a powerful like tool to just sit in the gratitude of what you've created and really settle into that. So I think it's so nourishing for the nervous system too, to just be like, wow, I'm normalizing like this and this level.
Yeah. And we are definitely not conditioned to stay in that space at all. Like it's like as soon as you achieve, it's like more. It's messed up. It's messed up. So yes, I echo what you're saying, and let's all relish in the appreciation mode for sure.
Appreciation. Well, I've also heard that gratitude is one of the highest frequencies, along with like love and stuff like that.
So, yes, and this is really cool. I don't know, maybe Abraham Hicks. I don't remember where I heard it. But yes, gratitude is, and appreciation is even like a little bit higher, because with gratitude, there's like this little bit of a nuance of overcoming something. I'm grateful I have this now. I'm grateful, and it is good as a kicking off point. But if you can be in appreciation, it's a bit more neutral, so
Mm,
that you can appreciate anything and not have it be kind of like personalized in terms of overcoming something, which is a little bit lower vibe.
I love that. That is such a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought about that. I love Abraham Hicks though. Well, awesome. So you're currently manifesting quite a few different things, integrating into where you're at currently, and we're going to strategize what that
Mm-hmm.
next level looks like for you, which is
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, and I've talked about it with you as well. So retreat center and what that could look like. Because I've got people now in my life, you included, where I'm just like, okay, what could this look like for gathering, for bringing people together, right? And so it's on my digital vision board, the space and place and everything. And so how we're starting to expand to bring all these amazing talents, together so that people can benefit from all the gifts. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were just talking about how powerful that in-person work is, and getting people in a group for meditations and stuff like that is just such a powerful experience. So I love
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Okay, so I would also love to hear, um, as we've talked about all of this, things that you've manifested, things you brought through, what belief or identity are you really embodying right now with this space that you're in that's fueling that next chapter, but also you're just like integrating into like, this is my new normal?
Yeah. So I do a lot of timeline work in terms of connecting up with future versions, sending healing back to past versions of me. This is something that I've been doing since I was a child. I remember as a child sensing my adult self sending me comfort back. That might sound a little woo, but it's totally serious. It's really a thing.
We do that in
And
hypnosis too, and I've heard people even call it like higher self work, where you're connecting with your next level or
yeah,
higher self. Yeah.
future versions that I've been connecting with and actually integrating parts of them back into my present moment so that they can help me with the work that I want to do to get me there. So my inner guidance is even stronger because I've integrated parts. And so, part of that is I'm writing. And so I've invited future versions of me that are already published to come back and help me write, manifesting the retreat center. I've had the version that already has the retreat center coming back and helping me. And it's interesting because the feedback and guidance that I've received from these parts is that what are they getting out of this? They want to come back and relive this process with me because it's so fun, which I
Ooh,
love.
that's fun.
Yeah,
They want
I
to
know.
enjoy the journey.
Yes, they want to relive the journey, which is so cool because when you think about why did I choose to come here and be a human in the first place, you can do that with parts of yourself and invite them back at a particularly awesome highlighted part of your life where they want to come back and re-experience it again. Super fun. So,
Okay, so you're connecting with those bigger manifestations with the parts of you who have already created it, and just kind of looking at like, what can I learn from this part? What,
mhm.
knowledge do they have to impart on, for me or whatever? And they're just telling you enjoy the journey basically, and the
Well,
timeline.
yes, and it's been helpful with manifestation because I'm embodying their frequency. So their
Yeah.
level of frequency, I'm embodying that now, which is helping me to expedite bringing things in. So the nervous system they've already established, now I have access to. So it's really cool. I do hope, down the road I'll be able to help other people with more timeline work because I think time is starting to warp in our reality a little bit. You hear people talking about, compressing timelines or like shifting timelines and all of
Hmm.
these things. People are becoming more conscious of their ability to do that. And so I'm excited about that frontier and kind of bringing that into the practice, mostly for self healing and self, expansion and growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Well, my last question as we're like wrapping all this up before you talk about your offers would just be, as I'm thinking about everything we've talked about, you've mentioned embodying frequencies quite a few times. And I would love to hear like just a practical tip
Mhm.
for my audience to start to embody the frequency of what they're calling in, their manifestations, etc., whether they connect with a part from, a future version of them or not. What is that? What can they do on a day-to-day to start to tap into those higher level frequencies?
Yep. So that's embodiment. And so practicing embodiment is kind of linked a little bit to daydreaming. But what you'll do is you'll sit and get quiet, get centered. If you want to put down a grounding card, I'd recommend you do that. And then you ask yourself, what do you really want? And you get an answer. And then you say, okay, what does it feel like to already have it? And you get the feeling of what it feels like to already have it. And you just sit in that feeling and let it like expand, especially out through your heart space, like really take it into your heart, feel your energy expand. Now, if it's something that you haven't actually had before or experienced before, then you start the daydreaming process where what you think it would make you feel like, what you could, imagine having this thing, what it would do for you. Because manifestation, I want $1 million. Okay, why do you want $1 million? Because it'll make me feel safe, secure, provided for, stable, da, da, da. So those feelings are really what you want. $1 million is one way to get yourself there, but you have the ability to connect with those feelings now. And the more that you're able to embody those feelings or frequencies, or, you had said energy too earlier, the more it's sending the clear signal. This is what I'm about. This is what's important to me. I want to connect with these feelings more. And the universe will respond by reflecting back more opportunities for you to be able to connect with those feelings. So embodiment. Mm-hmm.
So you can almost like literally think about yourself as like a clear channel, or like you said, as a like antenna, like when
Mm-hmm.
the feeling, when you've connected with the feeling, it's like connecting to that thing you're manifesting.
Yeah, it's almost like a beacon. You send up the frequency
Mm-hmm.
of, safety. I am safe. I am safe. $1 million would make me feel safe. What I really want to do is feel safe. And so you send that up, and then the universe reinforces it with opportunities for you to feel safe.
I love that. Would you recommend that this like practice, like should people take 10 minutes to do this every day? Should it be like an everyday thing? What would you recommend?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. So, like the way that I work with my clients, I give them the energetic tools I mentioned earlier. They set that up for themselves before they even get out of bed. There's a lot of other practices that you can, also do to amplify and expedite and all of that sort of thing. But even if, if that's not possible for you, if you have like a quiet moment in your car before you go into your office or, whatever, but you go sit in your closet if you need, quiet or, whatever, just um, honor yourself and give yourself space to be able to sit and think and focus and connect. And so carve that out for yourself. And if you started out at the beginning of your day, what's really nice about it is you're still in that liminal space between awake and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that subconscious space. It's a really powerful space. And so if you, as you're starting to wake up, start to set intentions, and it's tricky at first, but you will fall into it if you practice it enough. You can start to set what you want your day to be, and it will completely change the trajectory of your day 100%. And so the more you practice it, the faster things will come in for you.
100%. As you're talking, I'm just thinking about the scientific approach that I have with the subconscious mind and like how it's the exact same thing. Like you're already in that theta brainwave state. Listen to a hypnosis in the morning before you do anything else. Your subconscious will, intake those affirmations or the feelings or whatever. And I do a lot of feeling work and visualization as well too in my hypnosis audios where we're connecting to that feeling. So this is all awesome. I love it. Really cool to see like the intersect between like frequency and energy and subconscious and like how they're really aligned.
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of overlap, which is good because then people can find what
What
resonates with
resonates.
them. Yeah, totally. And what works for them, they can choose. Several years ago, it wasn't that easy. A lot of this stuff was still underground, but now because of, apps like TikTok where people are comfortable being cringe and all the things, like so much more information is accessible. So whatever works for, people's interests, there are options out there to help them on their path.
100%. Yeah, I love that. Well, cool. Tell us where we can find you. I'm going to have all your links below. So I know we're going to have a link to your website, your free meditation and guidebook. I'll link your TikTok so people can look for those grounded tools on your TikTok as well too.
Mhm.
Do you want to briefly just tell us a bit about your clarity audit sessions?
Yeah. Yep. So it's Bridget Archbold across the board. So my website, my social media links, LinkedIn, TikTok, it's all Bridget Archbold. A lot of people spell my name wrong. They put an I in the middle. There is no I in Archbold. But yes, so it's energetic audit and clarity session is the name of it's kind of a quick 30-minute one-to-one call. People are, like I said, spinning their wheels, or they're coming up against some resistance, or they're suspecting they have a block or limiting belief. That will come together. We'll have a brief introduction, and then they'll share their question with me. And again, that process, they share their question, their need, that sets the intention, their frequency, and their body is online to say this is what they want to bring in. I'll connect up with their higher self. I'll do an energetic scan of their field. And in that process, I'm able to identify, where there might be blocks energetically. Part of that is my Reiki background. Part of that is my intuitive background and being able to kind of sense in people where they might be blocked. So I bring that to the surface. We explore that and talk about that. Like, oh, I'm feeling tension in your solar plexus, or your throat is feeling tight. What are you afraid to talk about? What does this mean, in terms of you being able to use your voice? And we start to get clear on what that's about. And then we start to break that down to give them a clear path forward for next steps. That is kind of the spirit of the session. I've had it modified a little bit though with some of my other clients. So I did the reframe example with somebody recently where they came in and they were struggling to get interviews and a new job opportunity. We reframed that for them. I've also had people send me questions in advance, and I'm able to connect up with their higher self, and I do like a little video or audio file of what comes through based off of their questions, and then we use the one-to-one call as more of a debrief and dive deeper into whatever came out of the reading. So that's another option for that time and space.
Amazing. And then your workbook and meditation, that's a good place to start for manifestation, right?
Yes. So the workbook is Design Your Dream Life guide. It's a 2-hour-ish self-guided experience where you carve 2 hours out for yourself, and you go through like a series of sequential prompts to help you get clear on what you want to bring in for yourself. And I won't spoil it because it's more powerful if you kind of do it in sequence, but it definitely helps you to bring clarity in and start to get you in connection with those frequencies that we talked about earlier in terms of what you value and what's important. And then the meditation is just, it's fun. I did it maybe like a year ago. I should probably do some new, fresh options, but it's a guided meditation where you can go through and do a chakra expansion and healing and clearing. And we even connect up with your higher self, which is fun to see if you have, any guidance or information. So you can start to develop those abilities for yourself. And that's free. That's out on YouTube.
Beautiful. I love all of this. Well, we'll have all the links below, your website, your social media, and those sessions. So thank you so much. This has been awesome. First, for you to just like chat over TVA, but also to hear all these insights around manifestation and stuff. I know my audience is going to love this. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me.